Peace to the planet. You know what it is. A D to the bishop chilling. We are outside. Well, we're inside, actually. You guys might be outside. It's hot outside in the Bay, man. How is it in Istanbul right now? What's the weather like?
And it's starting to warm up, but it's not hot, hot yet. So it will be hot very soon.
Good.
But it's not yet.
Well,
So
that
it's
was
beautiful.
the voice and smile of the only number one. You know what I'm saying? Brother Ali. Beep, 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 boop, 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 boop. What's up, man? How are you living?
Always happy to be with you, brother.
Yeah, man. What's the latest, man? You're always doing cool stuff, always traveling, having beautiful experiences, man. Tell me about your world.
Lived in Turkey for it's been 4.5 years now.
How do you
That,
I'm assuming you like it because it's been 4.5 years, right?
I mean, it's so great that all of the just constant difficulty of it is worth
It's
it.
worth it.
It's just great enough that I mean, there's always something that just doesn't seem like it should have to be this difficult. And it just gets crazier and crazier. And I've had people tell me, like, man, if you love Istanbul and you want to live here, it makes you earn it. It'll start to love you back, but man, you got to put,
You gonna put that work in though, huh? You gonna put
man,
that work in.
yeah. So, and I mean, it's like that, man. Like, so there's things about it that are just have been so life-changing and beautiful, and I feel like I've really come into my own here. But also it's very, very challenging. And a lot of it, there's just like the little day-to-day stuff of like, so right now my Wi-Fi in my office doesn't work. That's why my background looks crazy and I'm just on this. Um, and like my Wi-Fi in my office just doesn't work. And no one can tell me why. I don't expect to have an answer for that. I'm just
This is
sitting on my,
it. This is what happens. This is
I
how we
got two, yeah, I got two laptops, a phone. I got my like uh audio adapter because I'm like trying to bounce files for this thing. I'm just working from home, even though I pay for an office.
right.
Uh,
And that's what it is sometimes.
yeah, and then sometimes you go up there and it's just like somebody just put a chain on the door and locked the whole building because it's Eid for a week.
That's just that.
It's just like, yeah, no one works during Eid. And I'm like, I would come in at night and work. No, nobody works during Eid. And I'm like, yo, like, shouldn't somebody have said something about this? Like, at that time my computer was in the office. So I mean, it's little stuff like that all the time. Or it'll be like, attention parents at the school. All the girls have to wear ballerina dresses tomorrow. And it's like, we didn't have no ballerina dress,
Right?
you know?
Where are we gonna get that, right?
Yeah, like, it's stuff like that. But then, I mean, the economy and the political situation is bringing some really difficult things out. So me and my daughter, my 17-year-old, actually got deported a few months ago. And
Yeah, to come back to the States.
yeah, yeah. Well, we were in Amsterdam for a week, and then we went to Chicago for a week, and then we were able to come home.
Wow.
Um,
What
and
caused
then
that? Well, if you
they,
want to say, you don't have to say, honestly.
no, 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 no. I mean, it's just we did everything right. I mean, we're immigrants. And I mean, it's anywhere in the world, it's very easy to just blame the immigrants for all your trouble. So you don't have to ever really look at
I'm
your own.
familiar.
Yeah. So so yeah, it's that. And I mean, we did everything we're supposed to do. There's all this political fighting going on, and so their system is hella backed up. They hadn't even looked at our paperwork, and then I took my daughter out of the country to go to America, and they just changed the rules while like
While you were
inadvertently and didn't really announce it. And so I went to bring her home and they're like, no, she's being deported. And our layover was Amsterdam. So they said, we're sending her back to Amsterdam. You can go in the country, but she can't. And at that time, she was 16 years old. And she
wow.
just turned 17. I'm like, you cannot send a minor child to Amsterdam by
Right.
herself. They were trying to deport her by
That in and of
herself.
itself seems like a crime.
I'm like, this is going to be an international situation. Like,
Yeah.
what do you? So they finally let me get deported with her. It was a that was one of the hardest days, man, that I've ever had. Like that was really that was whack. To
Right.
not be able
For that.
to, yeah, to not be able to defend my family or control like what was happening with our bodies. And because,
Right.
it's like I know all too well, like I'm a foot taller than these people. Uh, if I start responding the way my body wants to respond, police are going to come in here. I'm going to be in zip ties. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know
Quickly.
what's going to happen. So,
Right. No, that's unfortunate, man. And that's weird, right? Because I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit more. Um, when I was on your podcast, I still get amazing feedback from that. Like every other month, someone will hit
mm,
me and be like, "Hey, man, I just saw you on Brother Ali's podcast, man. That was cool." Right. And I'm like, "Yeah, man, no, that was dope." And, I'm really grateful to you for all the times we get to speak privately and publicly, whatever. But, um, I've been thinking more and more about, I think we spoke about, this Socrates quote, I am not Greek nor am I Athenian, but I am a citizen of the world. And I always have really strived to be like that, even though I'm obviously black and American, right? Like vehemently. Like I don't speak other languages. I don't, you know what I mean? But just as a psychology. And sometimes because I've been going back and forth to the UK so much, there are really moments where I feel I am that, where I am embodying the movements and the mindset of a citizen of the world. I wanted to know, like, as long as you've been in Turkey, have you ever felt those kinds of things in terms of being a citizen of the world, just as a general concept? Like, you don't have to say like Socrates, whatever, but like this idea, and then like, in what moments do you find it resonating with you? These citizen of the world states of existence.
yeah, I absolutely feel like that. I think I've felt like that my whole life, or just like I belong to God and I belong to the human family.
Mm.
And we all belong to the earth and we belong to each other. And, like I've always felt that way. I never it's interesting, like the group of people where I feel most connected and at home and like the way I identify myself
Mm.
is with Black Americans too. But I
Mm.
mean, ethnically and genealogically, I'm not Black.
Right.
But that's where I was raised and taught and trained, and that's where I became who I am.
That's gonna, yeah, 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 yeah.
So it's like, well, even there, it's like I'm not really a citizen. There's a bunch of people that'll be like, no, you're Black. Like every
Yeah,
time I was little, no, you're Black.
sure.
But it's like, okay, maybe to you, but if I walk 10 feet that way, it's not.
It's a little different, homie. It's a little different.
It's so funny because, man, speaking of that, like there's times where like how you're traveling and you see other Black people and like you get happy.
Yeah, yeah. Hey.
So like because I look like this, I can't usually say something about it because they're not going to understand like what the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean?
That makes total sense, bro. That's hilarious.
There was one
That's
time I was in like the old Egyptian market. They call it the Spice Bazaar. In Istanbul. And I'm over there walking around and it's like this really, it's not touristy, but it's like super authentic. Like you are not in America right now. And I see these two elder Black women and I hear them speaking English. And I just was like, hey, I was just like, hey, happy to see you guys. Are you okay? And they thought I was trying to like hustle and be
tap
a
them
tour guide
up.
or something.
I will
You know,
gladly take you to the museum for $7.
right. And they were like, no, no, thank you. And I was like, no, I'm from America. I just want to make sure you're good. And they're like, oh yeah, we're okay. And I just asked like a three quick questions. I forgot exactly, but it was like, you know where you're going, you feel safe, know where you're going, got what you need.
Right, right.
It was just quick like that. And one of them stopped and goes, are you married to a Black woman or something?
Why? As as
There's
odd
just
as you
something
might
about like
find.
that specific series of questions. She was like, oh, I see why you're talking to us now. And she was like, no, we're good. And I was like, okay. But
That's hilarious.
But
You
yeah, I do feel that way. And and it's one of the many things that are true to me, and it's just not true to everybody else, and it's not true to the people in power.
is it, and
Um,
it's definitely not true to the people in power. I think sometimes because I generally function from that place, right? I generally function from that place, whether I'm here, overseas, whatever. And I find that it's not to say that I ever forget that I'm a black man in North America, but I do forget what that symbol can mean to others when you're just being yourself,
Right.
right? You know, it's like I don't have a technical term for it, but like in this moment I'll say I'm still the monster, right? In someone else's story, right? So
Yeah.
I can be having a great day, da 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 da. I get on an elevator, this lady like gets in the corner and clutches her purse, leans in the corner, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, she still thinks I'm a monster." Right? And the old me used to be like, "Oh, don't you understand? This is a racist stereotype." Like I would want to like say a thing, right? But then like if all she sees is a 6'3" black monster in the elevator, I'm not in control of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it used to bother me. It used to warp my day, my way of feeling. But now I just realize that everybody doesn't see me as I am, you know, at first glance. I'm 6 foot whatever. I got some tattoos, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know how this resonates. Sometimes I feel like I look more like Will Smith's, you know, stunt double than anything. But other days, you know, even Will Smith can be the monster apparently. You know what I mean? As Fresh Prince as that can be, you know.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
really interesting, man. It's really interesting. One of the things that I've been struggling with, all right. Okay. The other day RZA was on Drink Champs. All right. And it's an incredible discussion because uh I think they ask good questions and RZA has a very unique life. You know, being in Shaolin Monastery, going to Wu-Tang Mountain, you know what I mean? Different world tours, time in Africa, whatever. All the books he reads, like, you know what I'm saying? He's talking about the Bible, the Quran, he's talking about Buddha, he's talking about all kind of stuff in this one interview that most people, even me, probably can't fully follow or appreciate all the way. And I don't really I watch Drink Champs clips, but I don't watch
I can't
really
do it.
like at all. Like I don't have the time. I mean, if I'm just being honest, I don't have 4 hours to sit around and listen to, you know, whatever. But I realize there's this other thing in me right now. And I'm speaking as a 55-year-old OG veterano of the rap world, you know what I'm saying, who wrote his first article on Easy back in 97, I mean 87, you know what I'm saying, 88. Bro, like I love hip hop, but I'm tired. I don't care anymore. Not the way that I used to. And this is what made me realize why I don't watch Jink Champs, even though I appreciate what they do. I think it's a dope show. I think they ask incredible questions, and I mean that. But like most rappers don't inspire me to think the way they used to when I loved it with everything I had.
Yeah.
Right? When Rakim was giving you lessons, when, you know, Farrakhan's a prophet that I think you ought to listen to. Who is what? What? You know, Big Daddy Kane, put up the peace sign, Assalamu alaikum. I can't even make that out. What did he say? I want to know what he said. I don't know what he
Yeah.
said. Who knows? And then take some guy whose cousin is in the Nation of Islam to tell you what he said at the end because you couldn't make it out. Well, what that mean? Oh, okay, right? Those things aren't happening to me and for me in hip hop the way that they used to. Like, and that doesn't mean that I still don't love, respect, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like at 55, as a martial arts teacher who teaches everybody from little toddlers all the way up to dudes that are in their 60s and women that are in their 50s, I don't care as well. I cared about RZA. I cared about what he was bringing to a conversation as someone from my same basic generation. How do you feel? You know, you are a humanitarian. You are, you know, I don't think you would consider yourself a scholar in a classic sense, but I consider you a scholar. You were incredibly wise and insightful from your experiences and your studies. And so it's like, do you feel the same way? Are you experiencing any of this? But you're an artist, so you may not because you're still creating dope stuff. So help me see what you see as an artist who travels and experiences as much as you do.
Yeah, I mean it's very similar. I mean I still appreciate the artistry. So like I can hear somebody rap and rapping really well or doing something interesting or they just feel open and free or I can tell they're working something out or something. So just on straight creativity, vibe, artistry,
Right.
that type of thing, there are people that I listen to that I'm like, okay, this makes me want to rap, or I just
Mm.
appreciate this. But in terms of what's actually being said, it's very rare that like somebody's still like what they're saying is doing anything for me. And
Yeah.
even if it's impressive, even if I really like it,
Right.
um, it's like it's not new. There's like not anybody that's like really like teaching me something with what they're saying. Not a whole lot. I mean, sometimes it happens.
Yeah, there's a gem, right? There's a fragmented gem off a bar, and you're like, ooh, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Like I love hearing Black Thought every time.
Every
And every time
time.
I'm like, this man is, but so the way that he's doing it, but it's like we're coming from the same place. Like, you know what I mean? In terms of just like thought. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, when you were saying like when we were teenagers and there were, Cam and Chuck D and all these people were like pulling from stuff that we didn't know about yet.
Oh, do
So
you
we're
remember Cam's
oh,
first album?
never again. I mean, yeah, never
What?
again. It's like one of
Talk
the
to
greatest.
me. That album
Yeah.
was out of control. And I think I'm not to cut you off. You just shattered my cranium. I'm so sorry.
No.
But like that album
Yeah.
was out of control. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nah, he's one of the greatest. And I mean, man, he's deeply underappreciated. I know a lot of us love him, but like, man, I don't think Cam gets the flowers that he deserves for being. And I mean, and it definitely seems like he had a big influence. Like we all love Death Certificate, America's Most Wanted, but it's like how much, I don't know. I would love to
I
interview
don't
Cam
think
and
that
just
album exists without Cam. I can't
I
prove
don't
it.
think so.
I
Yeah.
can't prove it, but I would have a hard time believing that Death Certificate exists without Cam.
Yeah. It seems that way. And it seems like when they parted ways, I even like there was a lot of what Cube was saying that now I know came from Minister Khalid Abdul Muhammad and Minister Farrakhan and certain others that I'm like, okay, these people were translators for because we're teenagers when we're hearing this stuff.
Yeah.
And so but some of those guys were 30 years old. And so they know Minister Farrakhan and they know whoever Dr. Ben or whoever's around at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
And so they're translating that for us,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, like you said, like now we're full grown adults and now we can go straight to so and so. I don't necessarily need that translation anymore. So there's very few people. I will say the one that still inspires me the most is Yasin Bey
Okay.
and Amir
That's respect.
Suleiman.
Amir, bro, let me tell you, when we talk about slept on artists, as much as he gets love, it's not enough.
There's
As much
nowhere,
as he
I
gets
mean,
love, it's not
he's
enough.
still a secret. He's like the great. I feel like Yasin Bey, Dave Chappelle, and Amir Suleiman are in a class of their own in terms of what they do with communicating in words. And like those three are untouched in terms of what they do.
Bro, first of all, Come to the Hills on its own and then forget
Yeah.
about it. Okay. Like that's just one of a mountain of pieces that I've heard him. I was in Sheffield about 2 years ago, saw him with
Sheikh Ibrahim Osiefa and those guys.
yes, sir. Bro,
Oh,
listen. I've seen him, I've known him for years, more years than I can count. I don't know how long I've known him. I've known him that long now. You know what I'm saying? Um, he did a poem that was so heavy, my jaw dropped. I was standing, it was like it was that good. And the way that he could weave language, culture, time, and emotion is almost second to none. I don't even know how I would put after him. I have no idea. He's so
yeah. It's
unique.
like some people are number one and there's not a close number two.
Yeah,
And
bro.
that's how I feel with those three individuals. Now, part of it is because I'm so keyed in with exactly where they're coming from, not only culturally, but spiritually. Like they're all Sunni
Yeah.
Muslims.
Yeah, yeah.
And so there's like, culturally and like but they, even though we all listen to the same lectures, read the same books, know the same
Yeah, yeah,
people,
yeah, yeah.
we're all the same guy in a lot of
Right,
ways.
right, right. Yeah.
But the three of them, when they say it, it's like they're still building parts of my mind and heart. And that's what all these artists used to do, that like build
Yeah,
new
this
things
whole ocean,
on
right?
my mind. You know what I mean? And now it's just very, very few. And my thing is like, man, there's probably somebody. I mean, like there's sometimes like Navy Blue will say stuff emotionally that I'm like, man, there's all kind of people that like there's moments. There's a
Right.
young sister named Raina Simone who's
Okay.
super ill. Like I'm like telling everybody about her.
Right.
She's from New York. My Santa Claus is a black woman. My father is God. She got this whole thing. All my people black, so stop asking me why I'm light skinned. My great grandmother was probably raped by the white man. Oh man, she's
Ooh.
no, she's old, and she makes her own beats. And
What? Where's
just
she
like
from?
who are? She's from New York.
What? Wow.
Yeah, and it's like man, she is like. So there are people that I'm like. There's a young sister from Chicago named Brittany Carter. And Brittany Carter be saying some stuff that I'm like, this is, and just like her vibe and everything.
Yeah, the energy.
Because to me, that's one thing where like women are still like carving new territory. There's still a lot of new stuff for women to say in hip hop.
I
And
mean,
so,
yeah, and it's such a struggle, right? Like for women in hip hop, because like as I observe women in hip hop, I see so much of like this modern strip culture rap girl thing, right? And I'm just like, man, somewhere in Oakland, somewhere in Brooklyn, somewhere in Detroit, there's a Lauren Hill who can't get a deal. There's a Lauren Hill buried by the algorithm, right?
yeah,
There's a Lauren Hill who has to work at Target because she
yeah,
can't get enough eyes on her videos to make it so she can live. And that stuff shatters my heart because I need her music and I don't even know where she is. You know what I'm saying? And then
yeah,
meanwhile, a lot of the, to the same degree, a lot of the dudes, they're arguing about, oh, I see, and it's like I have to go in and edit my IG. Like, sometimes every once in a while you just gotta scrape your IG, like start blocking and deleting a bunch of stuff to like make the algorithm give you better stuff. But I'm seeing a lot of stuff like Lil So and so drops a new diss track against Big OG, whatever. Looks like it's on again. And I'm like, there's a genocide, guys. You
man.
been doing a
And,
record together?
and so,
Y'all ain't doing a record together in a genocide to squash beef? No. And like they're saying, who's the king of this? Who's the king of that? The South, the West, the East, the North. Who's the king? And I'm just like, the
who's
freest
on your
man
Mount
in hip
Rushmore?
hop, the freest man in hip hop can't say free Palestine. Whoever
Yeah,
you think he is, whoever
no,
you think he is, and the freest rap crew won't do a song about humanity and Gaza, won't say the Sudan,
Sudan, yeah,
right? Won't talk about the Uyghurs in China, won't say anything. How can I call him a king if he's not free enough to speak what used to make America shudder when Ice Cube dropped an album, which would make people scared when Chuck D got a new album? Everybody was like, well, let's see, let's see.
yeah.
And now we don't have to
I mean,
worry.
I just wonder, like, so
Yeah,
like this is why like the COINTELPRO of nowadays
yeah,
and like
counterintelligence program.
yeah, that whole thing where like they spent a lot of time tracking our musical heroes. I mean, they basically did everything they could to put Paul Robeson out of business, Nina Simone. They did
Martin
everything
Luther
they
King tried to
could.
get him to kill himself. Have you
Yeah.
ever have you ever read the letter
Oh
that
yeah.
he sent to him to
Yes.
kill himself? I had never somebody read it to me like 4 years ago, bro. I almost cried, bro.
I could cry thinking about it right now. Yeah. And I mean, they knew he had a baby attempt at suicide when he was a child. Dr.
Mhm.
King jumped off the second floor balcony of his house because he did something and he accidentally hurt his grandmother when he was like 6 years, 7 years old or something.
Are you serious, bro?
Yeah, yeah. And they knew that, you know what I mean? And they sent women to seduce him. And then when he slipped, they recorded it and they tried, it's
The
like,
black,
yeah, you know.
so like
And to me, I'm like, man, yeah, I'm not, but I just wonder, like, who are they investigating now? Because, like, yeah, like you said, they were
you,
like, damn, they're, yeah, yes, you know, but it's
me,
like, yeah, but it's like, man, yeah, like you said, when Chuck D dropped an album, when when Ice Cube dropped the album, I know that like I know personally that there are people that saying that man caused the LA riots. The LA
Mhm.
riots happened because of these revolutionary rappers. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
And we just can't. I don't understand. I mean, I do because I said free Palestine and I didn't work for a full year. And to this day, I can't get festivals or colleges anymore. And
right,
I'm, that's a very real sacrifice. And so, but I'm just like, man, I look at even my peers and I'm like, man, nobody
bro.
nobody can make a,
Oh,
a, a real statement. Even a lot of the Muslim, and I will say that the way that Mo Amer did it with season 2 of his show, it's like, okay, that's how you do that. If you're not going to blow up your whole thing by just going on
yeah,
and
yeah,
saying
yeah. If you're not gonna
genocide, da, da,
eat for
da,
your own
you're,
platform,
you're, you're like, I'm going to say it through my art. It's like, okay, the one person that can say that is Mo Amer.
yeah,
Muhammad can say that. He did that. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then when he put that out, John Stewart, who's Jewish and really close friends with him, had him on his show. And John Stewart said a lot of the quiet part out loud that Mo couldn't necessarily say, but because Mo made the
yeah.
part, John Stewart said it.
It's
But yeah, man.
powerful. It's it's such a powerful thing, and so like knowing coming into hip hop, being the freest voice for Black people and oppressed people everywhere, it's hard for me to respect hip hop now. Like it is hard. I'm a grown man, right?
Yeah.
I work out, I do yoga, I meditate. I'm definitely not the same hip hop dude I was, and I'm not supposed to be, right? And that's okay, evolution, whatever, right? In terms of the human journey, right? And so this isn't a judgment like I'm too cool for hip hop or I'm angry with rap music or that's not really where I'm coming from. But like at the same time, again, back to this citizen of the world, right? I know people use all kinds of different hashtags from, BLM to whatever they want, and they're entitled to, and different conversations need to happen, right? But my whole thing is that all life is sacred for me. All life is actually sacred for me. And so when people have issues with me saying stop a genocide, I don't know how else to be. If I believe all life is sacred and I'm seeing children with bullets that are longer than the width of their back in their back because they were looking for food at night, I don't know how to not want to cry over that. I don't know how to not feel empathy for that. I don't. And the same empathy I felt when I saw pictures of the German Holocaust of the Jews are the same feelings that I have right now when I see a little girl who was bombed the day before. I feel that in Gaza, I feel the same ache.
Yeah.
I feel the same ache, and that I can be framed as anything other than a lover of humanity for that
Yeah.
is confusing to me, and that an industry of music that was built on telling the truth has no longer has the courage, the nuts, the will, the drive, the determination to say it is that's more
But no,
heartbreaking almost than the genocide itself, that you're free enough to speak and you don't.
and I mean, and that's why so like I have another thing of this whole thing where like I always look at. So like I never really identify with whiteness inside of myself, but I know it's the reality in the world. Just
Mm,
like I don't care about money, but I do something and I do a thing that earns me money and my family needs money. And so I try to be responsible with money. You know what I mean?
right.
I try to be and so one of the first places that my mind always goes is like what this white dominant power structure has always done with Black genius. That's why I can't watch Drink Champs because it's like I saw when Tavis Smiley got taken off the air. I saw the fact that everyone suddenly wants to listen to podcasts now that they're messy. When like I knew Reggie Osei, I knew Combat Jack. You know,
Mm,
I know
shout
Quali. I know, our real journalists. Like man, we just lost Sasha Jenkins. You
yeah.
know,
Peace,
it's like we have journalists, but America is not going to give them millions of dollars to hang off their every word the same way they are to like, yeah, get a bunch of Black dudes in a room and get them drunk and see if they'll get messy. I don't like it. I like it's like, yeah, Black people have the right to respond to this whole thing however they need to, but I am going to see it from a different perspective.
right.
And you know what I mean? The same thing with like Kendrick and Drake. it's like, man, Kendrick has said a lot of amazing, deep things that deserve a lot of attention for over a decade.
Woo!
Suddenly, there's hours of people breaking down all the double meanings and him going after Drake. And like, yeah, Drake's not my favorite either, but it's just like the celebration that something like that gets, or just
Mm,
the fact that like for years, the people that put money into music have been funding like how many ways can we like lyrically talk about black people selling each other drugs and shooting each other and
right.
and, and taking each other's women and degrading the, you know, it's like same thing with women. It's like, man, I like, okay, I'm a Muslim. My wife's wears a hijab, my daughters and stuff like that. But it's like, okay, in America like women are free to do whatever they want with how they want to present their bodies. I don't think that that's a good thing, but it's like everybody's free to do whatever they want. The
Right.
problem I have is not with the people that necessarily that do that, but it's like, why does a black woman have to do that? Why does a black woman
Right.
have to give? Because these people still think they own you. And like,
Yeah.
man, you have to, I have the right to access you sexually. Otherwise, you ain't got no reason to be standing
Yeah,
in
you
front of
don't
me.
have any you don't have any value in
You
my
can rap if I can see the outline of your private parts. Otherwise, shut up. Otherwise, we
yeah,
got nothing, you got nothing to say to me unless I'm watching your body parts,
it's really
including including Beyonce. Like, now I love Beyonce as much as anybody else. I don't like, it's not it's music's not made for me. She's amazing. That's all like amazing. But I'm just like, man, this mother of how many children who's been married
powerful.
to this amazingly powerful black man for how many years? And still, it's just like, man, why does she have to do that? You know what I mean? And I'm
Yeah,
saying, like, could she be the global phenomenon that she is if she didn't do that? It's,
it's
that's the
really
part,
hard.
you
It's really.
know.
Can I ask you, um, as someone who is so unique, right? Can you tell me about a moment when someone challenged your place in hip hop and how you responded? Like, because you have so like, here's the deal. Like, I can imagine that there were a lot of times people thought that they were cooler than you on stage and got devoured. People thought that they were doper than you
Mhm.
and got housed. And
Yep.
I believe that could probably be its own book. If you just had one book, you could do a whole book just on that, right? Can you tell me a moment like that, because at the same time, so many people like Rakim, Chuck D, Doom loved you, like all these different people, right? And anybody who knows the art for real and cares about the craft for real and the culture for real knows you and respects you. I'm curious about some of the memories that stick out about those who've made that mistake.
Well, just in terms of battling, it's only happened a couple times. Um, in terms of like battling, you know
Tell
what
me
I
about
mean?
one. I need to hear one.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you about, so when I was like, it's funny, man, Merce, Merce always says, and I like Merce, one of my dearest friends. Merce is the person that told me, like, I never thought about it this way.
Hmm.
Merce was like, man, our parents' generation talked and fought for immigration or integration, but they never experienced it really. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like one black girl going to a school and everybody pouring,
like, yay!
like
Right,
putting out
right.
cigarettes on her or something like that,
Yeah,
or
throwing all kind of
flipping. No,
stuff.
that's
Right.
not what. But like our generation is the first one that had to figure out what that actually is.
Look, and felt like.
Yeah. So it's like the idea of a black person having all white friends or a white person having all black friends, that's new for us that were people that born in the 70s.
That's true. That's
You know
true.
what I mean? And so yeah, there were in the 90s there it was really common for certain like white people to call me white N-word.
Really?
Yeah. And so then there became like a they shortened it to the N word with the W at the beginning.
Right, 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 right.
But that was almost a way of saying of talking about somebody who was like putting on and
Faking
fronting.
it or something.
Yeah,
Right.
like somebody like a wannabe, whatever.
Right.
But when they said it to me, it was like, we hate black people and you are just a white black person. I had a crazy experience in Philly the other day. I'll tell you that in a minute too, maybe.
Oh.
Um, that just remind I was like in the 90s again in Philly, that's like a couple weeks ago. But yeah, so white people would call me that, like with the hard ER. And I had a song once where I said it, and but
Hmm.
I said the whole phrase. I mean, this
Yeah,
is
it went down.
90. I said the word white, and then I said the N word in the
Yeah,
song because I'm talking about what's, you know what I mean?
happening
And
to
at
you.
that time, yeah, and at that time, there's not YouTube, social media, all this stuff to give us language around these things. Like there are things that people have access to now that we just didn't have access to to then.
True.
And so one time I'm on the mic, and I did that song, or I'm kicking those verses or whatever, and it's an all black environment. And I said that, that people call me that or whatever. And one of the brothers just walked up and just grabbed the mic out of my hand and just set it down and was just like, no, you can't say it. You can't. No. And I remember I was just like, oh, snap. And then one of my dudes was like, yeah, just the word. It was like people don't understand the whole context.
Yeah.
Just
What city were you in?
I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's
Yeah. And it's just like that word, like it doesn't matter how you say it, just you saying that,
it's
you
gonna be electric.
you can't say that. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay. And he was like, notice he didn't hit you. You know what I mean?
That's
If a white
true
person
because
says
that
the
would have
N-word,
been
you
some
have to
violent. That
punch
would have been
him.
some on-site violence in a bunch of other scenarios.
Well, yeah, because he was like, if a white person just calls somebody the N-word, it's like we were raised that you have to punch them, you have to fight them.
That's how my dad raised me, bro. Like,
Yeah.
like the only fights I got into in school were those.
So he
That's
was
it.
like, he didn't swing on you. So you know what I mean? But it's like, and I ended up talking to that guy later, and that guy never, I don't think he ever, that particular person, like it was at like the group in my high school.
Mm.
And I don't think he ever was fully on board with me, but he just, but I told him, I spoke to him, that was like Friday night or whatever. And
Mhm.
I said, I saw him on Monday, and I was like, I'm 14 years old at this time. I'm 13, 14 at this time. I was a freshman in high school, and he was like a senior or a junior. And
Okay.
I was like, hey, my bad for, you know what I mean, for the rhyme or whatever. And he was like, yeah, it just didn't sound right, you know.
Mm.
And I was
Mm.
like, okay, I respect that. Um, so I mean, there wasn't a lot of times like that,
Yeah.
but there have been those, you know what I mean? I've definitely just said things that like weren't my place to say.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Or just like I would say things that my peers would say. Then again, this is all when teen is in the part of my like
Yeah,
as a
yeah, yeah.
teenager. But it's like I would say things that my peers would say or my elders would say, but it's like that's not really for me to say.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's got to be an interesting terrain to navigate. I can imagine that's especially when you have such good intentions and you actually care, right? Like it's not for cool points and it's not for whatever, right? It's your environment and the environment of those you love. You know what I'm saying? That's interesting.
Yeah, but it's like, my intentions aren't more important than somebody else's safety. And just now, or even I think in that moment, I was like, I understood that. I was like, okay, just seeing this face and this body, seeing that word and hearing that word come out of this body, it just is a trigger that it's like it has nothing to do with
Human.
he shouldn't have to experience that. He shouldn't have to wonder what's his intention.
What does he
He
mean? Right.
Yeah, he should not he shouldn't have to negotiate that. I should. I got to figure that out, not him.
That's deep, man. Now, can you tell me about a time when your music directly impacted someone's life in a way that surprised you, right? Because like you have so many cool songs and you're such a vivid storyteller. I can imagine that you've come across some people that you had some some resonant impact on. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of your music has impacted my life in the way that I see. I still remember the first time I saw you perform. Like I stood in wonder. This was I don't remember the year. I'd have to comb it back, but like all I remember is someone said, "Hey, have you ever heard of Brother Ali?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know who he is, but I haven't heard his work." And he was like, "He's performing in San Francisco tonight. You should come." I was like, "I'll go." So we went, and all I remember is how big the crowd was and how good your crowd control was and
Mm,
how uh how the crowd was resonating with so many, like they knew the lyrics with you and all this other stuff. And I was like, this dude is killing it. Like I never
mm,
forgot that. I never forgot that, bro. I never forgot that. And
mm,
there were other people that I knew were in the building, and I was trying to find somebody that knew you so I could get to meet you and tell you how mind blown I was. But um that didn't happen. And I just remember like the next day, like my friend was like, that was a sick show, right? And I was like, incredible. Um, but tell me
That's
if
so great. I hate to hear that we didn't connect. Like the level of like brothers that we became. I'm like,
I
dang, man,
know,
we
I
could have
know,
maybe started 5 years earlier or
I
something.
know. And then you know what?
I could have had more years of this, you know?
I don't think we actually met until the Greek theater with
Yeah,
dilated
corny.
peoples.
But I knew who you were.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But we had
Like when we met, I felt like I already knew you.
yeah, 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 because there was so much, right? Like that was
But yeah, it was like, but it was really busy. It was a bunch of stuff going on. And Usama Cannon was there, and I was trying to make sure that he
yeah,
was being he's like VIP wherever he went. So I was trying to make sure he was being treated properly. It's just
yeah.
like, why do we all bend over backwards for this dude? You know what I mean? Um, but I was trying to make sure of all people that like,
He
you know
was
what I
good.
mean?
And
Yeah,
I saw him backstage because I didn't even know he was gonna be there. I was going to see Raka, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Dilated, shout out to Ev. And that's when me, you, and him and Ev took a picture together. And I have it. I have it. I have it somewhere.
me
And
and you and
just
Elvis and Raka.
yeah, yeah, me, you, Ev,
Okay.
Raka in a shot. And
Babu wasn't in it.
you know what? I don't think he was.
He might have
Straight
been taking a
up.
picture. Babu can take
He might
pictures.
have took the shot. You know what I mean? And like that was the beginning of the actual connect. But like I'm sure that I know I'm not the only one who's been impacted by you like that. Can you tell me about a time when your music did impact someone's in life in a way you didn't expect? Maybe they went to college, maybe they changed careers, maybe they like I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's been a lot. And I mean, like I don't know anybody. I know creative people whose music is out in the world who identify as atheists. But when I talk to them, it's like, I don't know if you're atheist, really. You know what I mean? Because they're like, well, yeah, the universe gives you this song, and then the universe connects it with people, and you know what I mean? Because you start
Yeah.
realizing that, like, I showed up to be a vessel for this thing. I really I served it. You know what I mean? I showed up and I honored it. And like, you know, the Sufis talking about knocking on the door of God and that
Mm,
the door is opened and we don't control when it's opened, but we control when we go to the door, how often
mm,
and how sincere we are. And like, that's what we do. And the thing is like with being creative, it's like, if I honor this process, just like, you know, anything else, just like sports or martial arts or, you know, anything that we're trying to really do with excellence, you show up and do it, and then just sometimes you're given something that's like, this one was different. Whoa. Like you
yeah.
crying or you got goosebumps or you're sitting there looking at the producer like, yo, we just did that. It feels special, you know, like something's happening that's different than us just showing up right now. But we had to show up for it to happen. And then the fact that your music, whether it reaches one person or millions of people, the fact that it's like, I didn't even know this person. And there's no way for me to have known all the things that led up to me making this, and then what it took for them to hear it, and all the things that culminated in their life for it to resonate with them the way it did.
Mm,
And then for us to meet and for them to tell me about it, it's like so much that's out of anybody's control had to happen for that. So one that I'm gonna stop telling on stage because I just did a full tour telling this story. But
Gotcha.
so I wrote a bunch of songs and they're usually first person. And everything that's a major topic in my life, I want to make a song about. My wife and a lot of the women in my life have just been through a lot of extreme sexual violence. And, you know, meeting my wife, and then I met her when she was 21, I was 26, 25, and I saw her healing journey. I
Mm,
saw her start to remember things, and you know what I mean? And I saw like I saw her heal from this, cope with it, live through it, shine through it. And so I was like, I have to make a song about this. But I struggled so hard with like, how do I make a song about her
mm.
story? So I finally figured out like, oh, you don't tell it third person. It's not Brenda's got a baby. Cause I thought that was a cool idea, but it didn't really hit. But Dear Mama did, because like Dear Mama is Pop talking about the first person account of him loving his mother.
Loving his mother.
It's like I don't have to tell your story. I tell my story of witnessing you, loving you,
Ooh,
being with you, da da da.
wow.
So like I did a song called Baby Girl like that. I put that song out probably 17 years ago, something like that. 15 years ago. So fast forward to now, my wife is a therapist that specifically helps women with with the stuff that she went through. She sees her clients online. We live in Istanbul. Her clients are online in Minneapolis. She gets on with a new client, a young woman, maybe 19 years old, and this woman is telling her all the stuff that she's been through. It's like a mirror of what my wife went through in a lot of ways. And my wife says, "How have you been coping with this?" And this young woman tells my wife, "You probably never heard of him, but there's a rapper, this underground rapper called Brother Ali, got this song called Baby Girl, and it's really helped." And my wife, because of confidentiality, can't say to her, "That's
Yeah.
my husband. That song's about me."
Whoa. Can I say that that's one of my favorite songs of yours? And that
Mashallah.
sometimes I listen to it because it'll make me cry or almost make me cry, and other times I can't hear it because of it. Not out of hatred or anything like that, but like because
I
I
can't
worked in the
there
schools
right now.
for so many years with so many young women and incarcerated girls and in the Bay Area and in St. Louis, like it reminds me like it's an embodiment of that. Like girls that I directly can name and girls that I just came across in a hallway. It's an incredible. So I can't believe you just told that story.
Doing that. So yeah, that's one that's just like all the layers and levels of that. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm just very grateful for that. And you mentioned having tattoos. I don't have them, and there's people that got all kind of my lyrics tattooed on their body, and
Yeah, I
like,
believe it. Yeah, no, I totally believe it, man. Um, you told some pretty cool stories about touring with Doom back in the day. I'll tell you a Doom story of my own, which is bad. It's a bad story. I shouldn't be telling this story. But just so people know that I know they see me now and I be meditating and I be quoting stoic stuff and talking to cool dudes like Brother Ali. And you don't understand, like before that, I was a chaotic young dude who looked completely like a nerd but was kind of wild. So my point is this: De La Soul, Brand Nubian, and and KMD are performing in San Francisco
what
at
year is it?
at City Nights. This is like had to be 91. Had to be 91. All right. And the Bay was on fire with hip hop. Anybody that knows hip hop and the time, the Bay Area between 83 to 93, man, that was an epic time. I don't care in any aspect you want to look at it. I go to the sound check. I'm a journalist, but obviously I still rapped at that time. You know what I mean? Like that was weird being like a writer for the source, but then still rapping and whatever. So I go to the sound check. They're like, come to the sound check, da 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 da. Someone from the label told me to go to the sound check. So then we leave the sound check and we walk down the street from City Nights. And Doom is like, yo, peace, God. Can you give me a 40? And I had just come into Islam and I was like, a 40? And they weren't old enough to buy alcohol at that time. And I was like, man, I don't know, bro. I was like, that seems kind of risky. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like you, bro, but like, what if like I buy you a 40 and you get arrested? What if you get ran over crossing the street? Like, it's gonna be bad if I do it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I should do that. And then he was like, nah, man, we'll be really good. I promise. So I did it. I did it. We were just chilling. And he kept himself together. He was like, thank you. And it was hilarious. And the whole time, I'm like, yo, man, if anything happens to this dude, I am in trouble. And my soul is not okay with this. But when I was his age, I remember I used to be addicted to chewing tobacco when I was like 14 because of baseball.
You
Remember Big
told me
League
that
Chew?
one time.
Remember
Yeah, you
Big
told
League
me that one
Chew?
time. I forgot about that, but
And
yeah,
so
you mentioned that.
I used to sit in front of Walgreens, right, where they had the arcade, and people come to the arcade, and there was always some like white stoner dude who would come through with his like Metallica shirt,
Them
hair.
dudes
He had
all
the
chew stuff.
wallabies and the bell bottoms, and I'd be hanging out front, and be like, hey, what's up, man? Do you can you buy me some Levi Garrett or like
They
some
call it dip snuff.
yeah, can I get some skull like the skull bandits? They used to have these little woven packets, and you could put them there, and they'd be like, "Oh, I mean, I could do it, dude, but like." I was like, "Yo, I got. What are you trying to buy? Like, I got an extra five for you, whatever. So just get me what I need, and then you can." You'd be like, "All right, dude." So like, I grew up like that. So like, part of Doom when he was asking me, I was like, I probably shouldn't, but I did this and I turned out okay. You know the whole I turned out okay thing. So I was like, all right, so I did it. But and then like we became cool, like we exchanged numbers and we would call and we would talk once in a while. But then industry stuff, you just fade. But like that was a hilarious story. You, however, have so many crazy cool stories. I wanted to ask you, tell me about a collaboration or friendship in the music industry that taught you something about yourself.
Hmm. It taught me something about myself. I mean, I think they all do in different ways.
Mm,
Um, I will say, man, I've mentioned Yasin so many times, and I was thinking when you were talking about being a citizen of the world, I think Yasin might be the freest person I know, and
mm.
Amir is like that too. And Amir is that way. Amir is proof of the like like you are as free as your attachments. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
Amir is not attached to material things.
like
And
for
so
sure.
he's just not. Like I lived with Amir Suleiman, and I'm probably not supposed to say it, but like Amir fasts pretty much every day. Like Amir is fasting almost every day. At least he was for the long period that I lived with him. And I mean, all summer in the Bay, and like he fasts almost every day. He gets up almost every night, and he's like praying by himself in a room in the middle of the night when no one's looking. Um, Allah has just made me privy to some of the very, very heartbreaking challenges of his life that he carries with such patience that it's just like, well, not that he's ever like passive or weak, like he's the strongest person we know.
Bro,
But I mean, so I've learned a lot from him, and I've also learned a lot from Yasin, where Yasin Bey is like people are constantly trying to get him to do these big things. I've known him to be offered, you know,
lots.
yeah, like six figures to do a thing and just say no because it just doesn't feel right. It's not illegal, it's not haram. It just doesn't feel right to him, and he just doesn't want to do that. I've seen, I've learned a lot just in that I've been inspired by those two people specifically, and just how free they are. And it really is proof of what our teachers say. Material things can be in, they might be in your hand and they might not, but they can never be in your heart. The material world can never be in your heart. It,
Mm.
you know, and Amir is somebody who he's amazing. And so he makes money sometimes, not to say like he's not,
Yeah.
Shaq or something like, but I think Amir should be the most celebrated poet in the world. And
No question. No
for
question.
example, like, there are things that someone like him could do to just go make money here and there, just do little things here and there to just make a bunch of money. And he dedicates his life to like writing a film, which takes years, creating the first English language epic poem for the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which has taken a lifetime. Like he's been working on that thing for 15 years or something. Um, it's so he's somebody that is doesn't have as much of the material things in his hand and is never swayed by that, or whereas Yasin is somebody that could be a A-list celebrity, like,
Right.
millions and millions and millions and millions. And he does very well for himself. Um, but like it's just not what drives him. It's not who he is. It's not and both of these people are driven by what is really going on inside their heart. But it's because their heart isn't alone. Their heart is directly connected to God.
Mm.
So like that's where the real that's a real courage. Like, man, never mind you and this rapper almost shot each other like had a shootout one time.
Right.
Like it's like, yeah, that okay. Real courage to me is like I'm gonna turn something down that nobody even knows I turned down. And
How
it's not
about
illegal and
that?
it's not I'm not gonna get celebrated for it.
Right. No one's gonna be like, "You're a good Joe. Good job for you."
No, somebody offered Yasin 6 figures to do something and it just didn't feel right to him. And he's like, am I crazy? I'm about to tell these people no. I'm like, if you're crazy, that's the type of crazy I want to be. You know
Mm.
what I mean? And he said no, and it wasn't there was no news story about it,
That
you
was
know.
just what it was.
But man, he said one time Yasin said if you do something only for the money and the only reason that you're doing it, like you don't feel good about it, you're not like it's not connected to who you are on a spiritual level. You're just doing it for the money. Then when you do that thing, you're gonna feel bad about it. And so the only thing you can do is blow the money to
Mm.
feel okay about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To
So like you're just gonna
balance
trick
out
off
just
that
the
money.
insanity of it.
Yeah, you just go trick it off. So like you're gonna not feel good and you're not gonna have the
Then you
money
just the
either.
cycle resets, right? Because now you need money because you spent it all for nothing. Oh
So
my. Oh
so
my.
yeah, I would say like I'm I think I'm a person like that. I want to be, but when I see those two guys, I'm just like, okay, I'm really grateful for that, for having such a clear. And people know that Chappelle walked away from his show and he did that. He really did that.
On, man. That was one of the hardest things I've ever seen in my lifetime of a black artist choosing themselves and their piece over the cash rules. You know what I'm saying?
And it's Muhammad Ali, you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, Muhammad Ali.
yeah, that's what it is.
Quick word on Muhammad Ali.
Mm.
There is a book everybody on the planet should read, and it is called Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight. Listen to me right now. Everybody listening, go order the book Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight. Are you familiar with this book?
Oh yeah.
Bro, if you're not familiar with this book, you know, God is so amazing the way that you can come across a book at a certain time in a fluky manner, and then it just hits you on time. It's not the book itself, although it is the book, but when a book, the timing that a book enters your life. Common had a line about this. It blew my mind. It's one of the last times I really had my mind blown, like for real, for real. Like he talked about the timing that a book has. It was from the movie Hurricane, the song Hurricane. He talks about how certain books seem to look for you. When I read that book is about Muhammad Ali's life from the day he said he would not fight in Vietnam until the day he won in the Supreme Court. That's
Wow.
the timeline of the book. Bro, the statistics on how America saw war, what they thought about Vietnam, black joblessness, the black people being on the front lines of the war, da 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 da, all the money he lost, and all these other things. It's in that book, and
Yeah.
it blows. Man, that book is incredible. But yes, I say that to say that was a long version of yes. I understand what you mean.
Yeah, and I mean, and I really feel like Yassine was the inspiration for Dave doing
Mhm.
that, but really Ali was too. And it's like so many of us, so many people, your legacy, your what we do is an inheritance from somebody's legacy. And so many people that have done great things have this moment of actually connecting with the person who inspires them. So like, Dr. Cornel West, when he was a little kid, he saw Martin Luther King.
That's
You
right.
know, when Kendrick was young, he went outside and saw Pac and Dre shooting a video in Compton.
That's
Uh,
right.
not to put myself in the same level as
No, no,
them,
no, no. But I mean, I'm sure those
but
things.
when I was 13, KRS brought me on stage.
Right? Come on, bro.
And when Dave Chappelle was young, he met Muhammad Ali, and there's a photo of him with Muhammad Ali. And he said to himself when he was that young, I'm gonna be famous and I'm gonna do it like that.
That's crazy, bro. I was thinking literally, like I have this thought every so many years, and it pops in my brain randomly. I was coming up the stairs literally like 2 days ago or whatever, and I always say, how many times did what Muhammad Ali do give someone the courage to go to school, to be a doctor, to open their own business, to just say no? When someone or some situation, right, like these are innumerable, incalculable things, right? And it's the same thing for Bruce Lee, right? And it's the same thing for so many amazing humans. But like I specifically think of Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee in that vein when I say how many times did they stand up in a way or choose their health, right, or choose their dignity over a landslide of something that appeared to be or was actively against them.
Can I show you something? I'm gonna have to put my computer down for 1 minute, literally
Yeah,
one
yeah,
minute.
yeah. It's all good. It's
I,
all good.
I can actually bring it with me. Hold on. It's over here in my bookshelf. I think I have it. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so I'm sitting there on the tour, the last tour I was on, and
Yeah.
I'm talking to my man Ant about because I'm cool with one of Muhammad Ali's daughters. And she was talking about how when he got MS, um, that he got to a place where he couldn't sign autographs anymore.
Mhm.
Like he couldn't do it quickly. It took a
Right, right.
long. So he would go into gatherings and people would want autographs, and he found that he couldn't sign them in time, and he didn't want to leave anybody without an autograph. But he also wanted to give out. He wanted to spread the word about Islam. So when he knew he was going to go in public, the night before, he would sit and sign pamphlets about Islam in advance so that when he saw people,
You
he could give it to them. And so if somebody wanted an autograph, he was doing that. And she said he would sit there for hours and write. I'm telling Anthony about Ant, my producer, homie, one of my dearest friend, telling him about this on the tour. 2 or 3 days later, I'm doing a meet and greet, and this white guy shows up in Madison, Wisconsin, which is where I used to live, or maybe he was in Chicago. No, this is in Madison, and I was born in Madison. And he gave me this. I don't know if it's gonna show it because of the. Hold on, I'm
saw it.
bringing
I
it.
could see it. I could see it. I saw it.
Yeah, let me.
For a quick flash. I could see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. I got freeze. Wow.
This is what they say about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dude, and it's he just signed it, and he signed it right at the top. But these are those pamphlets from the 90s, from like when we first came into Islam. What they say about Prophet Muhammad, and it's just like, man, for anybody that knows how much we love Ali and how much we love the Prophet Muhammad, and the fact that like I was talking about this and then somebody just gifted it to me. He
That's
went to the thing with his dad, and I told him like, man, this is such a major, and so his dad now has dementia. Um, but he was just like, man, this is a moment between me and my dad. He's like, I just have this feeling that you're supposed to have this. And I almost said I couldn't take it. And the only reason I did is because I'm like, man, I will treasure this the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
and he knew. And that guy
Yeah, I will treasure
good.
this forever.
Bro, that is unbelievable. I have a really funny story for you. It's not mine. It's my dad's. So, there's a picture uh that my parents have of Muhammad Ali sitting on an airplane in like the 60s. And my father was a mechanic for United Airlines, and so you get free trips, you know what I mean? So they was flying somewhere, and for the last few Father's Days, I've gotten my dad this Ali shirt. I've been finding incredible Muhammad Ali shirts, and I get
Mm.
these shirts, I give it to my dad. And so one day we were talking about Ali and how they met him on. I said, "You guys met him on the plane," because it's a really grainy picture. It's almost like it needs to be doctored. You know what I mean? But it's a beautiful picture of Ali on this plane. And he goes, "Yeah, man. What happened was, the 49ers played the Colts, and the 49ers were going back. They were in Chicago, or no, they were somewhere else, like Minneapolis, or whatever, and they had to go to Chicago and then to San Francisco." And he goes, and we get on the plane, and we see, that Muhammad Ali is about to get on this plane, and there was a bunch of football players. It was like a crazy flight, you know what I mean, situation. So I get on with your mom. We're sitting there, and someone comes back, and they're like, "Hey, um, Muhammad Ali would like to meet you." But they're talking to my mother. So my mom goes to the front of the plane, and he's like, "I'm thinking she's gonna come back." He's like, "Bro, she stayed up there the whole time until we got to Chicago." I'm like, "What's going on?" So then she comes back, and she's been kicking it, what I'm saying, eating all the food, whatever. He's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Well, I was just trying to be polite, and I didn't want you to get beat up."
That's
I was like,
wow.
"And here I am buying you shirts of this guy." You know what I'm saying? But it's just hilarious, bro. It's just hilarious. Like, um, the different stories that people have as they travel through this earth. But like, my father was and still is a big fan of Ali, still is a big fan of Malcolm. And he taught me about Muhammad Ali and Malcolm, and he taught me about Bruce Lee. And like, sometimes when I look at who I am today, I don't think the way that my parents raised me, I could have been different. I don't know that I could have been different. I know I'm like so weird to so many people, right? A Muslim stoic who does meditation and loves yoga and does jujitsu and whatever else I'm connected to. But I just don't think that I could have been any other way than the way that I am, because they raised me the way they did at the time they raised me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those stories are the things that just make me laugh as I go through life.
I love the way Dr. West always says, I am who I am because somebody loved me.
You know what I'm saying? It's very real, right? It's very real. Before we cut out, man, I wanted to ask you, you know,
There's never a point that like, well, this is a good part to wrap it up.
bro,
Like
there's never a good part. I'm only doing this
every
'cause I don't know what time it is, and I don't want to take up your day, bro. Because we be on the phone. I'm telling you, every time me and him get on the phone, it is a podcast. Just so you know, it's a
yeah,
podcast. And
yeah.
when the CIA docs drop, you know what I'm saying? When the NSA releases their investigations into Adisa and Brother Ali, hopefully some of those phone conversations will make some of those
Funny
transcripts.
because you feel like all these people now are like teaming up for podcasts. Like
Yeah.
uh, ever since like Cam and Mace did theirs. Now it's like
Yeah,
Fat Joe and Jadakiss and like you know what I mean. Everybody's doing them now. Um,
bro.
like man, me and you could easily record hundreds of hours of content in a weekend. I don't
Between
know how
our
many hours are
stories
in a weekend, but
and our weirdo reflections and our
yeah.
books, man, come on, dude. Come on.
That would just be too easy. I don't know if
It,
anybody would like it except for us.
we'd be like, that was a sick episode.
Be like four listeners. It'd be like Stick from Dead Prez listened. Uh,
Like,
yeah,
it's hella real. It's
yeah.
hella real. Um, here's my final one. This is a good one. This is a good one. All right. What's a mistake you made early in your career that you're actually grateful for now?
Hmm. A mistake that I'm grateful for.
Early in the career, did you ever like not take a deal, not go on a tour? Did you ever not let somebody invest in your album or you know what I mean?
I mean, I definitely have no shortage of mistakes, um, and I mean, I pray that I'm forgiven for them.
Yeah, yeah, inshallah.
You know what I mean? Like if anyone was harmed. And I mean, the thing is like, man, I just was seeing this thing where I've been with my teacher, I've been reading this book about it's advice for students on the path of knowledge.
Mm,
Amazing. You would actually love this book. I
I
think you would
bet.
love this book.
I got a book
Yeah.
to show you too. Keep talking.
Um, but man, one of the things that one of the things basically this man wrote this book and was like, this is what my teacher taught me about studying. And
Mm,
so he said, the purpose of study should not be to debate others and to win arguments. Like that's a complete waste of your time, and even to defend yourself if people attack you. He said, if people are attacking you and they're wrong, them being wrong is enough of a defeat for them. Like it's enough of a consequence. Like we don't need to give them more consequences. Like they're wrong, how wrong they are is enough of a punishment for them. And
bro.
so the mistakes that I've made, I think, and another thing he says is he talks about being patient with consequences. He said if you don't listen to your teacher and you don't listen to your doctor, then be patient with the consequences because they're coming.
You just try to save the napalm right for the end, my boy. All of this great guy, the napalm for the end. You crossing them up in the paint like
Just like, man,
yo.
just even the idea of be
Oh,
patient with the consequences. Like, you know,
I can accept that, man. You hit me right on time with that because I've been struggling. I've been struggling with sugar, dog. Your boy, the jihad against sugar is real over here, my boy.
Ma'am Dawud Yasin says that's the real white devil.
Shout out to him, that is so real though.
Yeah, man.
Yo, man, like I am an addict. Do you
That's
hear
the
me?
white devil, man.
I am based out, and I'm struggling
Dang,
so
that's
hard. I'm getting better though. I'm
surprising for
getting
me to
better.
hear, man.
I'm getting better. Like I don't have
Your face
diabetes.
doesn't look like sugar. You know what I'm saying? Like when I eat too much sugar, you see it in my face and my body, and I get all extra fat and bloated, and like it doesn't, it's not showing up in your face.
Bro, oh, that's all praise be to Allah and the exfoliation sessions that I put on deck. It's a charcoal one I pick up from Boots in the UK. But what I'll tell you is charcoal and witch hazel at Boots in the UK. What I'll tell you is I wanted to tell you about this book, Sufism and
Oh,
Taoism.
okay.
Okay, it was written in the 80s by a guy named Toshihiko Izutsu. Listen, listen, you need this book in your life, bro. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. Like it's heavy. It's heavy like have you ever read The Tao of Islam? You know what I'm talking about? By the one
I
Japanese woman.
I looked around in it, but I didn't like read it cover to
Bro,
cover.
like this I think predates that. This
Okay.
predates that and some of her work I think was influenced by this guy. It's really beautiful stuff, bro.
Mm.
This is beautiful stuff. You will like I'm like there's certain books that I sit down and be like, I'm gonna burn through this because I can read a book Know what I mean, like people
Oh
got
yeah, no,
skills. I can read a book. You hand me a book, zzz, 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 and I'll keep the data, homie. I'll keep a
yeah.
lot of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you've
Like,
trained yourself just like you
yeah,
have so many other things. You have trained yourself to like really engage a text in a short period of time and really retain it. It's
no,
very
yeah, but there are certain books you can't do that with.
mm,
Because they're too beautiful and they're too heavy, and you need to like, you know how like you could just pull up at In and Out and be like, yeah, I'm gonna need three of those. I need some fries, and you know what I'm saying, animal style, and just be like, right, and you can eat it. That's not this. This is
right.
that. This is that lamb that was smoked for 10 hours with the rice and the you know you gotta just
That's Mr. Shiro sushi.
yeah yeah
And
exactly.
you put it in your mouth and you're just like, yo, what is
Dude, I read
what
a
is
few
this
pages of
unicorn
this,
meat?
bro. I gotta take a few pages of that, and I'd be like, I need to drink some tea and sit in the backyard for a minute just to get through these few pages. Like this is one of those kind of books, but I believe you will really like it. I will believe you really like it. Sufism and Taoism. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to be on my podcast, man. Are you doing the States anytime soon with shows or talks or anything?
Yeah, so I'm doing a few things in July in Seattle and Washington State.
Okay,
And then in August, I'll be in Minneapolis and Madison.
nice.
Uh, that's the only stuff for the state for the states at this moment.
And then you're getting ready to go to the UK, which is one of my favorite places. Talk
Got
about some of the dates.
nine events in 10 days. I'm actually so I'm doing all this stuff in the UK and I got invited to speak in Bradford, which is like a very highly densely populated Muslim city.
I love Bradford. Some of my favorite people are in Bradford. You going to Mustafa Mount or
I'm
what's
going, well, so I was going to go to Bradford Muslim College, I think, or
okay, okay.
Bradford or something. That's where I was going to go. And then my man Wasim Mahmoud, who like reached out to me to do it, is like, oh, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf and Sheikh Abdullah bin Baya and all these people are going to be. There's a Bradford literary
Book
conference.
fair. The book fair.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, cool. I'll get to see them. So our brother Wasim tells the person who's booking that literary conference, Brother Ali is going to be there. I was just going to do a community talk at a
Right.
like a community third space thing at 9 at night,
Yeah,
hanging out
yeah,
and
yeah,
tea
yeah,
and
yeah.
talking about hip hop. So the people that organized this conference knew my work and they're like, "Oh, we love Brother Ali. It's a literary thing. He's a writer. Like he's a
He should
poet and
have
a songwriter. He should come and be on this." But I was only in town for that day. Why did they book me to speak after Sheikh Hamza Yusuf at the Bradford Literary Conference? I'm speaking directly immediately after him, and now they're saying I'm the headliner.
lightweight, lightweight.
Yeah.
That's like performing after KRS-One. If when
I'm just like,
KRS-One gets off the stage, bro, like
that's it.
that's an intense thing, bro. But you know
Time to
what
go home.
though? I
And
still
you're saying that as somebody with a complicated relationship with the teacher.
I still know what he's good at. You know
But
what
it's
I
still
mean?
true.
I
It's
still know
still
what he's
true.
good at. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Um,
And he's like that at 60 years old. I see the footage of him.
yeah.
Yo, KRS. I'm gonna be in Lisbon tonight. And then you like if you follow his Instagram and you go see the show and it's like 600 people going South
Rocking,
Bronx. And it's
rocking.
just like, man, the KRS one is KRS one.
And yeah, you know, that first of all, it's going to be an amazing event. I'm actually so sad I'm not going to be there because Farai Dune is going. Farai Dune is one of my favorite people, and
Okay.
he's going to be there.
Yeah.
And my boy Marcus, who you don't know, he's a graffiti writer. I'm gonna plug you to Marcus. I'm gonna plug you to Marcus. He lives in Leeds. He's an incredible bomber of art, of art.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just for the people who be like, "Oh, I knew it." You know what I'm saying? Um, but Marcus is just such an amazing artist. I'm gonna plug you to him because he was trying to go anyway. But like you guys would like each other, and he's gonna, you know, I plugged him in Faradun last time. But like, dude, that's gonna be great, man. That's gonna be great. Your time in the UK. So you're doing that. Great. So recover the UK dates just for my peoples.
So I got 6 concerts in a row. It's 9 events in 9 nights. So I have a small, like intimate gathering thing in Glasgow. Then I
Yeah.
got a show in Glasgow, show in Birmingham, Brighton, Manchester, Bristol, London, and then speaking in Bradford, and then coming back to London, and I'm speaking at Yusuf Islam's place in London called the Maqam Center.
What? My
Yeah,
boy.
yeah.
All right, man. That is fantastic, man. Well, tell anybody how to get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you, although they already probably know.
BrotherAli.com. Brother Ali is blind on Instagram. Those are probably the two best.
Cool, man. Thank you. Always amazing and hilarious conversations. Always happy to share stories and reflections with you. And I'll probably I mean, bro, you know what, man? I ain't gonna lie, blood. It just might be time for your boy to slide into Turkey, man. I've been playing around.
Yo, man, please. I'll cancel everything. We'll spend the time together. You will love
Oh,
it. You
like
will
I'm
love it.
so
There-
down,
there-
so down.
there- there's a brother here named Abu Ayub Marulanda. He is a Cuban American, Canadian, and but he grew up in New York, convert to Islam like us in the same time
Yeah.
period. But man, this man just lives Ottoman and Islamic history, and we're neighbors.
Bro,
Man,
stop playing. I'm fisting the
when
slide.
he's a tour guide, but he does his tours specifically for who he's talking to. I've been on his tour. I've been on the same tour 30 times with this man. It's different every time depending on who's there. Man, you will love it. You would love, I mean, talking about, man, military strategy and the training of the sultans and their sheikhs and that, man, you would love it. You would
Well,
love it.
dude, I can't wait and I need it. You know what? I ain't gonna lie to you though. Sometimes I just feel too ignorant to be in Turkey. I feel like the wealth of the knowledge and the history, I feel like
So
I would
the
feel like a caveman walking around ancient Egypt or something. Just
man, the original, so it was originally Constantinople.
right.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, there's a hadith where he says Constantinia will be a Muslim city one day. When Sultan Muhammad al-Fatih first like opened the city for Islam, conquered it, some people would say for Islam, he called it Istanbul. Like
Mm,
bowl meaning like appleless, like P-O-L. Bowl
all
was like
right.
Istanbul. That's what the original name of
Wow.
the city is, Istanbul. And he said that because when he opened this place, he went directly to the Hagia Sophia. They pulled the white Jesus
Wow.
things out of the mosque and used them as or out of the church and used them as target practice. Uh those idols, you know what I mean? Um just like I'm that's the kind of thing that you'd be like, what? Uh
Yeah.
but man, he said this is a city for all Muslims. But then also, I mean, when the Jews were expelled from Spain,
Yeah.
at that time, the person that inherited the caliphate from him was Sultan Bayezid II. Sultan Bayezid sent ships to go pick up the Jews that were being
I
expelled
know.
from
That I
Spain.
do know.
And he wrote a letter to Ferdinand and Isabella, and he told them, "You've impoverished yourself, you've enriched us. These are people that believe in God. How dare you? How dare you look at God like try to be with God and you kicked out believers and treated them like this?" You know what I mean?
That's deep too, because I did see that because of certain man, you know what? I'm not gonna say it because it's so cool. I just want to make sure I get it right. I'm gonna grab it from another book. I'll bring it to you later. You know what I mean? But I'm really grateful to you, man. I'm definitely gonna have to just make that flight, and just in my ignorance, walk through the halls of wisdom next to you, inshallah, and other people, man. And thank you for sharing your wisdom on Bishop Chronicles, man. I appreciate you.
Love you, man. Respect you, honor you. Can't wait to see you.
God bless. Yes, sir.